the Everything But Politics podcast.
Episode 90. What a time and what a guest we have for you today. We know that you guys love these health and wellness guests. We've been fortunate enough to welcome to the show, and today's guest is one of the best, Andrea Marcellus. Welcome to the Everything But Politics podcast.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
Andrea, I need to give a quick shout out to my mom, who's also named Andrea. She is actually the one that introduced us to you and your content and advised us to reach out to you. So thank you, Mom. We're finally here with Andrea. Great to have you here.
Thank your mom for me too. It's great. I'm excited to be here.
That's so good. And so, Andrea, you've described yourself as someone who specializes in fitness for busy people. And that's a fucking awesome niche. I mean, totally unique. When did that become your brand?
I think about, well, here's the truth. That's me. I always have too many things going on at one time. And I did what I thought I needed to be doing the first 16 years of my 32-year career in fitness, and finding time I didn't really have or want to spend on long workouts and all the food, spending a lot of time on that. So it's like a part-time job, and then not getting anywhere. And the fact is I'm really busy. And when I started to kind of find faster, simpler ways to get, where I wanted to go and get better results, I was like, people need to be doing this. And then I was doing that with my clients. And then it turned into this whole thing. So I think officially about, 17 years ago, I halfway through my career when I was like, okay, what everybody's doing doesn't, including me, that I've learned to do and teach, doesn't work. Like, we got to get real about how life actually operates for people and do this faster and easier and better. So they're inspired and motivated to do it and take better care.
Andrea, what advice do you have for busy people when it comes to fitness?
Number one, you got to bucket it out, right? So the number one thing is to get your food in gear and to get your life activity in gear. I start with standing and walking with people, stand up more. I'm doing this podcast, I'm standing. I take most of my meetings in the day. I have a desk over there and I have a standing desk over here. I'm only allowed to sit at my desk when I'm doing, financials or things that are I'm actually writing a book. And otherwise, if I'm doing my job, which is talking to people and then coaching and doing whatever, running, stand more throughout the day. Simple as that. Activate your life, standing and walking, and then get your food in gear. And getting your food in gear doesn't mean you're calorie counting or macro counting. I don't even do that. Or you're eliminating foods, but it's finding out what foods work best for your body, understanding some basic nutrition principles, getting that in place. And I have people optimize the meals they don't share with others. And that generally is enough. That's about 80% of your meals if you really think about it. And if you're strategic about that, you can really do what you want. Eating out and eating with friends and your family and stuff, which is crucial because that's when we bond with people. And our eating out or eating meals with family and stuff like that and friends, that's stress relief. So if you're doing this kind of elimination thing and you're always counting your food and analyzing it, and you're calling it good or bad, which means you're good or bad for eating it, that's the subconscious signal you're sending yourself, and all that judgment, you're wrecking the number one way we all relax and connect to each other, which is food. And it's just sending people down a whirlpool of no good. You get what I mean?
Totally. And something I've heard you talk about in other interviews is that it's very human to break bread, like you kind of just mentioned. We've been doing it for hundreds of thousands of years. And
Right.
In terms of discipline, when it comes to eating, when you talk to your clients, do you advise them to just kind of go hard for 6 days, stick to your routine, and then enjoy a day, do what you want and have that drink, have that piece of cake? What is your approach to that when you speak with your clients?
Absolutely not. No, life is to be enjoyed every single day. And that's why I say optimize the meal, because otherwise, like this idea of a cheat day, what's cheating yourself out of eating food that brings you joy? There's food for your goal and food for your soul. You know what I mean? So we need those things every single day. You don't want to create a wagon for yourself to fall off of. And the idea is, if you understand basic nutrition principles and you get meals, like this is why I focus on meals we don't necessarily share. You're grabbing breakfast, you're grabbing lunch, you're just kind of throwing together some snacks. Well, if you don't think of those as just things you're grabbing, but things that are thought through, if you strategize those and you kind of stick to a plan in a sense loosely with those, or concepts at least, right? Then every day at dinner time and when you're eating at night, you can really choose what you want. And the way I work with clients is by strategizing the earlier part of the day and getting their portions in gear, getting meal timing in gear, getting just what they're eating in gear. So we eliminate those decisions. There's no question, they kind of know what to get or make. Then you change your tastes. So when you get to dinner, this is really interesting. You don't want willpower to be a part of it. You want it that your tastes honestly have changed away from salt and sugar, and your stomach has honestly prefers smaller portions of food. So that's what creates the freedom. Then when you go to dinner, you can really have whatever you want, because you'll just never overeat really rich food, or you'll never overeat anything. And you're feeling satisfied because you're giving yourself, you're giving yourself the things that you think you can't have and still be super fit. The fact is, you can if you're strategic about it.
I agree with that. But and our mutual friend, Marcus Collias, who we had on the show, he said that you could work out all you want, but you can't out-train a bad diet. So when there are these individuals that you work with, and maybe they take your approach a little leniently, how do you kind of keep them in, you could enjoy yourself, but you also need to make progress and not overdo it?
Planning. So it's I do something called A/B eating with people. I really suggest this. And I have this app, my And Life app, or, where, you're finding things that take you 2 seconds to put together, right? But it's for breakfast, it's either this or that. For a snack, in the middle of the morning, it's either this or that. For lunch this week, I'm eating this or that. For an afternoon snack, most important meal of the day, quite frankly, this or that. And by eliminating decisions and by just kind of knowing, and it doesn't mean you have to meal prep. I never meal prep. My life is by the seat of my pants every single day. I don't know what I'm eating for lunch today, but I know in that fridge right now, there's going to be 3 things I can toss together. I call them toss together foods. I can make, right after we finish our discussion and before my next, and it's going to take me 3.5 minutes. And I'm going to have a couple minutes to eat. And that's my life. So, these strategies, I know they work, they work for my entire clientele, and I'm practicing what I preach every day, but you don't give yourself a ton of options for this kind of stuff. And then that's how it's easy to adhere to. And that's how it just flows. You know what I mean? You want to set yourself up to live and flow.
And for someone who's working outside of work and they got to find meals daily, what kind of process do you give to people? In your program, you talk about how you could help people lose 12 to 20 pounds in about 6 weeks.
Yeah. For me and our one-on-one program, obviously it's involved, but the biggest thing is we eliminate the decisions for people. I've been doing this a long time, so I generally understand some principles that are going to work for everybody in the beginning, to get their body to tell us what works best for your body. What's right for you is different for your brother and your mom and your dad. It's just, everybody's different. Everybody's preferences are different. Everybody's lifestyle is different. What, interests you. So we get to that. Right. But I can start people off. So one of the main things, and especially if you're on the run all the time, is just understanding concepts. I measure food in hands, and we start to, because when people come to me, I know this hand of chicken is 52 grams of protein. I don't want to bother you with that information. I want you to just start to be able to eyeball food, because you have your hands and your eyeballs with you at a restaurant, like, or on vacation, or when you're eating, at work, lunch. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not
Yeah.
like counting. But by teaching you concepts and figure out what works for you, like one hand of chicken at my lunch and one hand of vegetables and maybe one piece of bread, like, I can have an avocado toast with this or this, or like, but understand it like conceptually like that. That's how it becomes really easy for people, and they can eat on the run. And in my one-on-one program, that's all tested. So like, we just agree on what you're going to test this week, and then we find out, you end up with these lists of foods. You can either get that food or get something close to that out and about in the world, and you're good to go. And
That's
it works for
awesome.
you.
Well,
Yeah.
Andrea, I want to shift gears because
Sure.
we've been fortunate enough to welcome a lot of like great entrepreneurs onto our show. So I want to ask you about what's the difference between Andrea the coach and Andrea the entrepreneur? And people see like how awesome your life is on social media, but when you were in your 20s and 30s grinding, what are some of the things that people haven't seen or don't understand about what it took to get to where you are today?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think entrepreneurship is totally separate than coaching,
Mhm.
right? And I think you have to be really sure you want to be an entrepreneur. It is not sexy or flashy or shiny. It is just a lot of really focused work that you have to do to be able to get to do that thing that is your passion, your thing. And you have to shift gears mentally a little bit. Like, I love coaching and I love sharing information, and I'm always learning. I never stop, and I like sharing it. Okay, so that's the coaching side. But to get to do that, oh my gosh, you have to, I have to get people into a funnel of, you've got to come, you've got to be on my mailing list, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. I have to set up, I make all these sites myself, and I have to message people. I have to, you have to, like, there is so much have to, and it's a lot of stuff. So you start out on your own doing everything yourself until you know what people actually want. The big mistake with entrepreneurs is they go and they want people to definitely buy what they want to sell.
Hmm.
And that's actually not it. It's that you go out, you create the community, and you will find what they want to buy. And you have to, like, there's a curve on it. Do you see the difference? And then you start building towards that, and then you start building a team to help you. But it's not I try to actually put my life pretty authentically on Instagram. And I don't know, like, if I'm at 5 a.m. and I look kind of like crap and I rolled out of bed and I'm showing you what I make, I like to do that. Like, everybody knows I clean up fine. So I like to show people, like, this is, because I think this is the time. I think people are tired of smoke and mirrors. And I think people are especially tired of, especially fitness influencers who don't walk the walk, or who don't, and I don't think anybody as an entrepreneur wants to hear from an entrepreneur who says, like, I just sit back and I just watch the money roll in. Like, no, like, you're constantly iterating, you're constantly evolving. And and truthfully, I only started building this aspect of my business 7 years ago. And in this way, because I was always one-on-one or teaching classes, fitness classes in New York, Beverly Hills. So I was doing 2 careers at one time for a lot of those years till recently.
And that was, you kind of just covered on my follow-up. How did your business change as your emergence on social media grew?
Yeah, so this is really interesting. Like, now, we thought my business would be my app. That's what was invested in. That's what everybody thought. And we went and built the app thinking, and we were trying to simultaneously build a community of people. Well, there's a learning curve on what I do. Like, I don't count calories or macros. I don't, whatever. People are interested, but it's like not obvious. Like, you have to watch for a while. Now people know who I am. Now people have been following me a long time. They get it. But this was all new 7, 8 years ago. And so the business was failing for years. Like, and it's so funny. Like, if I was to tell somebody to, that's why I say, go build your community first. Go find out what it is that people want that you can uniquely offer that nobody else is offering, then offer that out. But it was failing for a long time, and it was I did this, I wrote the book, I made a course, I did whatever, and not till I put it all together and then put out on social media, I stopped actually selling anything. This is to answer your question, how has social media changed? The biggest thing is that I stopped selling. I stopped telling people I had products available. I stopped telling people anything about that at all. I just started making things, and I moved my TikTok, and I experimented on TikTok with just saying, hey, is this essentially your problem? Here's who I am, why you should listen to me. And then I told them the answer to the problem, and just that formula, and never telling them anything. And I just say in the who I am, an inkling of what I might have to offer. And then people can message me or go to my bio and find out more and set up an appointment. But just offering value for nothing. And this is a big David Meltzer thing, our friend David Meltzer. And I learned that from him. And social media has been a place where instead of selling, I just give. And that's how I built this community. And now I have thousands of people that come to me for help every month. I can't even keep up.
That's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about your app?
Yeah, the app's awesome. It's like, because it's a total lifestyle, and because what I do is in the app, it's literally like my program. Like, and I have people who very successfully achieve the same results I achieve with people one-on-one, just by literally doing exactly what the app tells you to do. It's 4 daily goals. We've got the food strategy, we've got your exercise strategy, and the bar is 20 minutes a day. This is not hard, and it does not have to be all at once. And we have your hydration. You have to be hydrated or your body will not release fat. And it's just keeping track of that, but also keeping track of caloric drinks. Most people mess themselves up with caloric drinks and they don't even realize it. And, and it's not that you can't have them, it's got to figure out what you can get away with. And then the last thing is standing. And when you put those things together in my app, the home screen of the app helps you build habits, because we get dopamine from checking things off a list. So you know how like you do a to-do list and you add a couple things on you've already done and you cross it off right away? Like we do that, we do that because you get dopamine from it. So my app is set up that way. So the home screen is like, as you show up for yourself during the day, as you do your food or as you do your workout or whatever, like you see these bars come across and you fill in your day. And that's how a habit happens. That's how we create real habits, by just these little tiny rewards, those little checklists in the day. And then, for a habit to happen, it has to be an easily repeatable pattern followed by reward, and that you do over and over. So the app is set up to help you show up for yourself with good food choices, and portion, and then show up for your little short workouts, and show up for your walking, and show up for your, or standing, or show up for hydration. And it will make the habits because you see yourself getting little tiny rewards every time you do. Pretty cool.
It's funny you mentioned the hydration. So can you please debunk this theory for me? So someone that I know believes that if you drink too much water throughout the day, whatever, not like gallons and gallons, but like, just gulping a lot of water, just well hydrated, that you get a bloated feeling. Can you explain to us why this either is or is not true?
Yeah, you can. Like, you have to find out what works for you. It's funny. I mean, so in our program, like, this is what's really funny is like the science of hydration. I'll tell you, I've been like in this for a long time. There is no hard and fast rule. Basically 8 to 10 8-ounce glasses of water a day is average. Like, if you're going to be hydrated, you're going to be fine. If you're working out, and especially here in California where I am, like we want a little more if it's hot, humid, whatever. But like, that's not a lot. Like, I have people go and get their glass. Like, here's my glass, take out a measuring, a Pyrex, and find out how much that actually holds. It's a lot. 8 ounces is only a cup of water. It's not hard to get. And so people walking around with these giant jugs of water, it's not great. You're over, you can be overhydrating yourself, but on top of that, you're stretching your stomach out. So if you're sitting here trying to eat what I call energy appropriate portions of food, just loading yourself up with tons of liquids is not the way to go. We just keep stretching it out. And you can be, for some people, you just kind of get waterlogged. You absolutely can. You have to find out what works for you. And it's sometimes in this, in fitness, it's shocking. Less is so much more. Like being gentle with ourselves is really leads to much, much better results. And the other thing is not over drinking with your meals. You don't want to be like stretching out your stomach and diluting your digestive juices and stuff like that. Like just enough to be comfortable and then keep moving.
I agree with the not drinking too much while you're eating, but I honestly was expecting a different answer. I thought you were gonna say that you flush it out regardless and that it doesn't have like a real impact on your weight.
So but your kidneys can only do so much so fast. I mean, and there's a saturation point, right? And this is the same problem with eating high sodium foods. Like your urine can only hold so much sodium. There's saturation, so it takes a while to get it all out. It's not like you can only go so fast. You know what I mean? Only so much can be eliminated so quickly. There's, we have our limits.
Yeah, true.
But
yeah, and I'm happy you just brought that up, the sodium. I feel like a lot of like these, I've seen people on Instagram, they're talking about like put salt in your water for hydration. So can you explain the relationship between sodium and salt and like what's good and what's bad for I guess for any person listening?
Sodium is salt. So this is a concern about electrolyte balance is what people are talking about. But like, oh my gosh, in America, are you kidding me? We are so far over, like there's so much sodium in our food. We have to, okay, here's the amount. If you want a number, 1,500 is like low sodium for a day. I try to get people living around 1,500. And if you just go look at a can of soup, it has 1,200 and something. And then they'll say it's 2 servings in this can. Like you're so far over. It's hard in the American diet. Like you're making your own food. Like, so the last thing, I swear, unless you are like truly making your own food all the time and you're not eating at a restaurant or whatever, nobody really needs to be adding sodium. Very few people do. Athletes, I'm not talking to you, different thing. And if you're a competitive athlete, you're watching your food carefully because it's part of your performance. Separate conversation. But generally what we're more concerned about are, it's potassium, like your electrolyte balance and that kind of stuff. But it's not so much the sodium issue. These are just these trends that, like, I mean, oh my goodness gracious. It's like, people believe anything. I'll tell you an interesting thing about water though. You can only assimilate 4 ounces of water every 15 minutes on a cellular level. So sipping is the way to go. When you're just guzzling big amounts of water, it's quenching thirst. That's fine. Like it feels good, but that's going to go through you. Like, so hydration really is like a slow and steady wins the race.
And Andrew, what do you think about like early mornings? Like Tom Brady, I read his book and he talks about how he would drink 20, 30 ounces right when he gets up because the body's dehydrated early in the morning. Would you still sip that, or do you think drink it or like a full chug in the morning?
Yeah, I start the morning with 4 ounces of water, like what I know can be assimilated. Now, Tom Brady, like this is a great example. This is a professional athlete. He gets up, he works out right away. He's hydrating for his workout. And he has been at this since he was a teenager. His body is a machine. He is very, very tight about his food and his nutrition. And he's talked about that.
Yep.
Like, so you have to go like take these things with a grain of salt. See what I did there? You're not that.
Yeah.
I'm not that. Like, you know what I mean? We're not machines. Like Tom Brady has made himself into a machine. And he feels very comfortable there and he is very safe there. And that is how he feels his best self. For other people, that would, for everybody in my program, that's deeply constricting. That's a box. That is a cage. Like I can't follow these rules. I can't follow that regimen. So part of it's like what works best for you and, just knowing that. So it's not that Tom Brady's wrong. Tom Brady's right for Tom Brady. And in my world, I'm busy trying to find out what's best for each individual person. I don't impose what's best for Andrea Marcellus on my clients. I barely tell them what I do. I'll tell them if they want to know, but like, it's irrelevant. You got to find out what works best for your life, your activity level, that kind of a thing. Make sense?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
when you do have athletes that come to you, what you said, the food fuels their body. What kind of program would you put an athlete on? Like in terms of eating?
Well, it's very different. And sometimes, it's interesting because what I get are athletes, and especially younger athletes who, high school and college, who want to lose some weight, but they want to perform at the high, like they have body fat they want to get rid of, but they want to perform at a higher, at the highest level possible. And these are two different concerns, right? So it's interesting. We're definitely leaning into protein, and I'll tell you this much: you definitely want to be making sure you're getting enough protein and protein at every meal. Like there are some rules to follow. One of that's talked about a lot is for women at least, making sure it's 30 grams in the 30 grams in the beginning of the day, middle of the day, and the end of the day. Like it's 90 grams is like the lowest of the low, like the base. That is appropriate for some people. That's way low for athletes. And if you're trying to lose fat, though, you really have to go and look like, well, how much energy you're actually expending, and then try to figure it out. And athletes need more carbohydrate, and they need that throughout the day. Whereas somebody on just a flat out weight loss program, they're just trying to lose body fat. We might have vegetable carbohydrates or fruit, maybe some fruit carbohydrates earlier in the day, but not grains and starches and stuff. It just works better because we're trying to avoid sugar cravings. But an athlete is totally different. They need some of those starchy carbohydrates throughout the day. Like if it's you need more of that throughout the day, or you're not going to be able to perform as well in your workouts. But how much, that is very individual. And I prefer to just kind of test it and see how people perform rather than just provide arbitrary guidelines. Everybody is a human being. And I have, in 32 years, I have never had an average client. Nobody fits the averages. So, that's why I have a process where you figure it out.
Gotcha.
So this past week on our show, we welcomed Sean Baker, who he's like a Dr. Sean Baker. He's like the all-time carnivore, only eats steak. So in preparation for that episode, Evan and I only consumed red meat, eggs, salt, butter, water, and black coffee. And that might sound crazy to you, but do you think that is sustainable for a long and healthy life?
With all due respect to the doctor, who I don't know, and I'm not familiar with all of his work or what he's saying, but you're missing out on a ton of nutrition. So is it sustainable? Like, are you going to die? No. But I can tell you right off the bat, you're missing out on a ton of antioxidants, anti-inflammatories, which are really important, pre and probiotics that will keep your gut in balance, and most importantly, fiber. And fiber helps to, two types of fiber. There is soluble fiber that cleans your blood, and insoluble fiber that keeps you moving. And we need all of these things. And that's what we get from fruits and vegetables and some grains. You don't have to have grains, but nuts, seeds, beans, legumes, fruits, vegetables, like we need some of all of these things, I think, for to feel your best, to look your best, and to have a body that is not in a state of inflammation. And all disease starts with inflammation. So I think, following, based on my research and everything I've done, and I love steak, by the way, it's like my favorite food. So bread for me is a vehicle for butter. Like it might be my second favorite food. Whipped cream is its own food group for me. Like I pour real cream in my coffee every day. That's why I go to Phil's. So you're talking to somebody who loves these foods you're talking about, but you must balance. Otherwise, you're really missing out on key nutrients.
I agree. And we definitely, Evan and I both have a very high protein diet. But I will say, while doing that diet, it was Wednesday to Wednesday, and I lost 8 pounds. And I think Evan lost about 6 or 7 pounds. So it was
But
just an
it's
interesting experiment. Nothing that we'd do for a long time, but something new.
but yeah, you're not losing though all uh fat pounds. This
Yeah.
is the misconception. It's very like
Mm.
keto or something like that. And when people come to me after that, they all have gastrointestinal issues. Like, I don't know. I don't know what it was like for you last week, but I'm sure you noticed a change like this. And you keep doing that for a long time, you're going to have some issues. And the other thing is that, like, so what you're losing in your body isn't just from this change to these types of foods and just what it takes the body to digest them, but you're losing some glycogen, stored energy in your muscles that actually has a weight, right?
Mm.
You're losing some of the contents of your intestines that has a lot of weight. And in with that high protein diet, your body might not be catabolizing muscle, but if it didn't have enough energy stored, it might be. If you guys were working out on top of that, so you might have been, even though you're eating all this protein, catabolizing some of your own muscle tissue. And so that I don't think you necessarily want to do that.
Yeah, and Merrick and I both agreed. We definitely felt like lighter and maybe our mind was a little clearer, but we both said that we definitely wanted to incorporate the fruit was definitely something I was missing. Not as much the
Mm.
vegetables, but the fruit for sure.
And so what that's telling you is, the perfection of the body. Well, you're craving fruit because there is no sugar. Sugar is your glycogen, is your fast energy.
Yeah.
You were low on energy. So your body is like telling you, you suddenly want to crave fruit. Well, that's not it. It's that your body's craving fast energy. It takes a long time to get energy out of protein.
Would
It
would
takes
that
no time.
also mean that our insulin levels would be way down?
Yeah, your insulin levels are going to adjust, but your insulin levels go up every time you eat. This is part of the process. And then,
Mm.
I mean, like, so your blood sugar goes up because you've eaten food. There is energy in your bloodstream, and then insulin comes. Like, this is all part of the process. Just having your blood sugar rise isn't a problem in and of itself. It's when it's that your body is insulin resistant, that when the blood level rises or your blood sugar level rises, but your body is resistant to insulin because you are doing this all the time. And then you're out of whack. That's the problem. So it's like going to these really extreme solutions, like where we're eliminating whole food groups and we're just going to focus on one. It's never a good idea. Yeah, you're going to see certain results, but you know what? I think a vegan would tell you, if I ate nothing but broccoli and blueberries, and some, I don't know, garbanzo beans for 3 weeks, I would feel like I'd have lost a ton of weight too. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like you can find anybody with whatever they think is their little isolated group of food that's the best. And if they only eat that, it's just by sheer elimination of other food groups that you lose a lot.
And are there any foods that you would eliminate, like food groups that you would eliminate entirely, or so any foods that you don't eat?
No, and I'll tell you why. And this is the mental well-being side of things. So you have this amygdala in your brain that's shooting out adrenaline and cortisol all the time to protect you, right? So this is set off by only one of two things. It is set off by scarcity, the idea we don't have enough of something, or threat. Scarcity is, I don't generally, for people in my world, and you guys notice this already in your life, I'm not going to have enough time, I'm not going to have enough energy, I'm not going to have enough money, or I will add to this opportunity, and this is FOMO, like I'm going to miss out. Like these create a sense of scarcity in us. They stress us out. That's what you get worried about. If you think about what worried you last week, it's one of those things. Or it's threat. And threat is not I'm running from a lion. It's anymore. I think cave people times it was, but now it's I'm going to look stupid. I'm not lovable. I'm, like if you whittle it down, it's I'm going to fail, and I'm going to fail means I look stupid. I'm not lovable. Like I'm not part of the tribe. And just on a deep level, we protect ourselves. The body shoots out adrenaline and cortisol to protect us. And in cave people times, it was to help you when you were starving. You lacked enough food where you lived to go to survive. So you have to go move the tribe. Well, the body shoots out adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline is energy. kind of false energy that your body can create, and cortisol shuts down your digestion and all the unnecessary processes so you can get from point A to point B and find food, right? Even though you're starving. And then for threat, the body's shooting out adrenaline and cortisol. You see a lion, you have to run from it. Adrenaline so you can run, cortisol so we shut off anything that is not our arms and legs running from this lion, right? So when we were just created as humans back in cave people time, this made sense. In this day and age, now these threats are all mental. And they're, it's a mental, it's how you perceive a moment. And so if you eliminate foods, you create a sense of scarcity. You start to obsess over what you can't have. So you want that more. Plus, your body is shooting out adrenaline and cortisol more than it would be to protect you because you're stressing out about it. And that's why diets might work for a second. They give us a sense of identity. I'm doing this thing. You're telling everybody about it. But as you start to adjust back to yourself, now you're setting off failure and you're hyper aware of what you can't have. You're setting off scarcity. So you are at a hormonal disadvantage all the time, even worse than you were before you started the diet.
So fascinating. And Andrea, I think one of the
Right.
things that draws people to you is that you really do give these in-depth, like scientific answers, whether it be like you're talking about certain brain functions. Like for the average person who doesn't understand that stuff, me, Evan, we don't understand brain function.
Yeah.
When people want to learn more and try to get an understanding, you can listen to shows like this, but if you want to get a deeper understanding like you have, what are some places people can go to kind of start accumulating this information?
Well, I mean, I put a lot out. I really try to help people in small bites, as you know, on my TikTok
Yeah.
or Instagram or that kind of stuff. And certainly, getting a coach, in my program, I go to, I really personally, I study a lot of neurologists. Everything stems from the brain. So for me, that's where I had, you've had Judd Brewer on your phone or on your phone, you
Yeah.
had it on your show. I, he and I speak the same language, where he agrees that stressing about food is actually worse than just eating the donut. The stress you create, that impact on your body. Dr. Michael Gervais is a fabulous, he was a sports and performance coach, but he works with people all over the world on kind of like the psychology of living an extreme lifestyle, like where you're highest level physician, you're a celebrity that is like, like people that, these athletes or these coaches or these people that, highest level Olympic athlete. And he on his show has a lot of people that people could find, and then you can go read their work, that there's a lot of psychology on there, the psychology of like really being able to be your best and unlock your best self and like things like that, where I go to psychology and I go to people who back it with science. And then I think my gift is just taking complex science and then making it actionable in real life by somebody who's 20 years old.
But
Yeah.
how have you learned? You've been doing it for a while now. How have you learned to simplify it so it's not so intimidating?
Oh gosh. I mean, I don't know. That's coaching, right? Like that's the art of coaching. And I've been doing this a long time. It's 32 years. I wasn't good at it at 19, I'm sure. I mean, I'm just teaching people the way I would learn. And I think any good coach is two things. One, you're figuring out how the person you're talking to can hear, like how they can absorb information best. Is it that they need to see it? Is it that they hear it? Is it that, and you get them to repeat it or live it in a way so that it gets ingrained in them, and you coach them for self-sufficiency. I think that's just learning to be a good coach and simplifying, trying to make things, bring things down to their essence, simple, simple, simple. It's like the approach to food when I say this or that. Like I just try to create really to simplify things to just one principle of it, get that, and then layer on your knowledge. But just even having one little principle to hang your hat on, like really can help you just feel motivated and feel inspired and, start to help yourself as opposed to just absorbing knowledge. And then it's kind of overwhelming. And so you don't do anything about it.
Absolutely. I love that. Andrea, I want to flip a
Yeah,
little to the fitness side.
sure.
In terms of longevity, what do you think is the best choice for you? Lifting, cardio, or stretching?
Oh, lifting 100%. But it's really interesting. We're in this culture now of like so much powerlifting or this kind of CrossFit kind of influence.
Yep.
And people get so injured pushing. And you have to there's this balance between because you asked about longevity and I'm
Yep.
answering for longevity. You don't want to wear your joints out. You don't want to wear out your stuff, just in the name of gains. You always have to be purpose driven. And I make my clients do this thing called Life List. They come to me and they think it's all about food and exercise or whatever. And I'm like making them fill out this thing called Life List. And it's like, if time and money were no object, like what would you be doing this year? And what would you be doing next year? And like, honestly, and like start thinking about that. Who are you? What do you really want to do? And there's like 4 categories of stuff I make people fill out. So they know what they really want to do with their time. Your exercise needs to be in line with that. Exercise serves 2 purposes. It is like, first of all, physically, it is literally about developing muscle strength so that your bones stay in proper alignment and that keeps you out of pain. And that we want to be able to have muscles that are strong to stay in alignment and flexible enough to stay in even alignment, right? And then we want to have the strength and the power and the agility to do whatever it is we want to do. And then cardiovascularly, this is internal, not the muscles, but talking about your heart and lungs, the stamina to be able to do what we want to do. But you've got to go back to that purpose. What are you training for? If it is literally just for Instagram pictures and like whatever, I'll ask you, what are you getting out of those pictures? What are you doing that for? What validation are you getting from those likes? Are they from real people? Are they from people that are honestly so people, just ask yourself with your training, what is the training for? And make sure it's specific to your purpose. And I'm not judging that, by the way. If it really is that I'm training for, I want, in this community of people that I share these For You pages with, and they keep me motivated and I motivate them, and this is what your life is about. Awesome. But most people, that's really not it. I think they're just following blindly and they don't know what they're training. So they're just doing stuff that they see other people doing. And I would say, step back and ask yourself, what do I need to be really fit and strong for? And what kind of a physique do I need to really do what I want to do in life, and then go train for that. And then it'll keep you super motivated because your training isn't just about the surface exterior of it. It's about the power of it and about the purpose of it, and that you're going to be able to do something with this strong, healthy body. It's not just there to take pictures of.
And for you personally, what's your purpose for keeping that strong, healthy body?
A couple of things. For one, I feel my best, and I wasn't always like this. It was like this goal, and I like being really fit, and I like to keep pushing myself, and I'm in this like perimenopausal place of life, which used to be this like big secret, like women, like, I don't know, like you weren't supposed to know that people change. And I think it's pretty cool to be me, where I still look like me. And I'm seeing if I can keep leveling up, even though, okay, I'm going to get hormones working against me. I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. Like for me, it's just fun to stay at this point, an inspiration to people, other people, to say, oh, I can still feel really in charge of myself and really strong as I get older. And I've had the privilege of working with a lot of people through their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, where I've helped them level up. Before COVID, when I really stopped training in any gyms and I just started doing this all online all the time, one of my fittest clients was 80 years old. This woman had guns, like, you know, and we made them in that last year, you know, and I'm like, I've seen it. So I like the idea of, I get a lot out of it for myself. I like feeling my own physical power every day. It pumps me up, you know, to be able to feel like it generates energy for me to give. So that's one of the things, is like, I use exercise to generate energy. I try to be my best, but also like, I want to be able to do whatever I want to do when I'm 80. Like, I want it in 90, and I don't want to be around much longer after that, I don't think. But like, you know, I want to be in it to win it, like, the whole time, and then let a piano drop on my head. Let's be done. But like, you know, I want to just, you know, try to be as well as I can, as long as I can, and then hopefully an inspiration for, you know, others too. And that's what motivates me.
That's awesome.
I love
And
that.
that's an awesome answer. You're awesome. Andrea, thank you for coming on for a 90th episode, a little milestone there, but
Exciting.
totally exciting. Appreciate your time, and dropping some wisdom here on the Everything But Politics podcast.
I'm
And Andrea,
so glad to be here. Thanks.
Andrea, where can our listeners find you and everything you and your team are working on?
Oh, thanks for asking. Yeah, you can always find me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and especially andlife.com is my website. You can also find that there. My company is called And Life. But you know, people tend to find me through social really easily, and you know, message me or just go to the link in my bio anywhere. We honestly answer every single person, and I do have a team that helps. But what's really funny is, a lot of times it's me. If I have extra time, I'm just in there honestly answering people, and they're like, so I'm like, you won the lottery today. It is me.
There's the entrepreneur right there.
That is, and you know what? That's the truth. You can never forget, like, what it is, the core of what you do. And the core of what I do is I try to help lift people every single day and give them energy and joy. And like, you know, if you keep yourself in that at the base level every single day, you'll be great.
So good. Well, thank you for joining us, and we will see you
Thank
guys
you.
next Monday. Thanks a lot.